Right. This is so annoying. Sorry, guys. It keeps saying that I can't add one of the people to the chat. So, 2 seconds. Bear with me. It might take a little minute. Right. I've got Lizzie in it. I'm just gonna get Cynthia on the list. Hold on. Hi. Right, I've got you in
Hey.
it, but Cynthia's not on it yet. So
No worries.
I'll see what I can do if I can try and add her back later on it.
Cool. No worries, no worries, no worries.
Anyway,
How you been
yeah,
getting
should we
on?
just? I've been okay. Just been okay. Sorry, that really confused me for a minute.
It's all
How are
right.
you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Uh,
Good.
busy. Busy, busy, busy.
Busy, busy, busy. You have been, but hopefully you'll get rest soon. Hopefully you
Thank
will. Um,
you.
yeah, should we just start? Because I'm unsure if this might not let me add her in it, so I might have to do one after the other.
Yeah, sure.
Just because I'm not too sure. So yeah, I don't mind doing one after the other, but yeah, we'll do that. So yeah, quickly introduce yourself to the guys and let them know what you're doing, what you're about.
Okay. Um, hi. This is so odd. I'm Lizzie. I am so pre-corona, I was like a venue manager. I still am. I'm on furlough at the moment. But during this time, I've kind of gotten a bit more into the kind of activism side of things. Um, and yeah, it's kind of all I'm about at the moment, really. Working
Cool.
hard to make change.
We've got to make changes sometime.
Exactly.
Also, what is your heritage, just so the guys know where you're from?
So I was actually born in Scotland. So I was born a wee bit further north than here, in Brecon. I believe that's
Mhm.
north. I've never been back really. And then we moved to Dundee until I was four, and then from when I was four, I moved to Edinburgh, and I've just been
Mhm.
there my whole life, so I just say that I'm from here.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
but my mum is Kenyan, and my dad's also Kenyan, and they moved over here in the 90s, I believe it was.
Mhm. Sounds
Um,
good.
Kenyan heritage, but born in Scotland.
Yeah, we're both from the east. We're both Eastern babies.
Yay.
Cynthia's just got joined in, so what I'm going to do is end you a little bit, but I'll try and add you both at the same time.
Go for
So I'm
it.
going to
Do
do that
it.
quickly. Oh, you can only do one at a time. Oh no. Right, hold on. Hello,
Hello, hiya.
how are you? So I'm gonna actually, I know Lizzie's watching this, but I've just figured out you can only do one person at a time on a live, and I
Oh,
think you could do more than one.
okay.
But what I'll do is I'll probably just flip back to both of you. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Right. Perfect. So we've just done Lizzie's introduction. So yeah, tell the guys what you do, where you're from, your name, and what you're about.
what I do, I'm a beauty therapist and a mental health therapist. I am, I was born in Zimbabwe and
Mhm.
I have been in Scotland for 22 years. I am a mother of
Wow.
one and I am a singer as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Good.
I do quite a few things, but yeah.
You're a woman of many tricks. That's one thing we're learning.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that.
So where is your heritage from? Where are you from originally?
Zimbabwean. I'm
Cool.
100% Zimbabwean.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, you've been in Scotland 20 years. How did you find it when you first came here?
Well, you know, with how I found it was my first experience of being a minority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there are all the things that come with the realization of that reality. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of not having such a privileged position as I
Mm-hmm.
did in my country where I was from the majority. So it was really, really strange. It was it took a while for me to get used to life in
Mm-hmm.
Scotland. You know, there were differences. I mean, okay, the weather is one thing, but there's just the pace of life. You know, I really struggled with how fast things were here, and I struggled with the isolation as well. You know, you work, you go home, and there isn't that much time to connect with loved ones. There's such pressure to be productive and to earn and accumulate, which I've never, I haven't mastered that yet, and I'm not trying to. You know, it's just it does not fulfill me.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I think a lot of people forget that you have lived your whole life in a different country. You've learned your own culture, and then you've come here at an adult in your adult age, and you've now been told to forget everything and then learn everything again.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was the hard part for me. You know, having to learn new things really, really fast. Yeah.
Yeah. How would you sum up your experiences as a Black person in Scotland?
I would say some of my experiences have been quite painful, and it's good that we have this movement right now because I'm able to connect with other people who have had similar experiences and not deal with the trauma in isolation and not have to process the whole survival mode thing on my own. So a Black person in Scotland, I will say, you know, there have been incidents of racism, but they have not taken away from the warmth of most Scottish people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. You know, it is real. Racism is real and it is here. But at the same time, I know that we have a lot of allies. We have a lot of allies, and I don't want to take away from what they are and their contributions. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, just so the guys know, what kind of brought us together as a group? What made everything happen?
What brought us together as a group? Okay, so it started with a post on Facebook. I know, you know, we have that separate page, the African Caribbean Scotland Society. We were talking about having a protest or a demonstration, something to do with what was happening in America, right? And owning it here in Scotland. So whilst we were still talking about this, somebody had gone and actually set up an event on Facebook. And I remember commenting on that thread, desperately wanting to be involved in that. And I was sending messages and nobody was responding. Nothing was happening. And I got really angry because I realized that nobody who had set that thing up was a Black person, you know.
Yeah.
And that is what really, really made me really go for it, because if it's going to be about the Black struggle, it needs to be Black people talking about it, you know. So then I know you had made an event as well, and so we did this pretty quickly. We were given it was kind of handed over to us, and then we connected, myself and Lizzie connected with you, and then we we changed the venue of this thing and we just hit it hard. You know,
Yeah.
we got the publicity out, we got people to come out to the protest, and, you know, we enabled people to protest safely. You know, there was a need to say something about what was happening in the world at the time. And we got together and we created that space for people. And you know what? It's just birthed some amazing, amazing connections. And there's so much work happening in the background, on the back of. So I'm glad that we all connected like this and we are carrying on with the work. It's not just about the protest or when the world is watching. There's stuff right now that we are doing, you and I know, that we are doing in the background to kind of build, come up with a strategy to break this thing down, this, racism that we're talking about, you know, because we realize this is long-term work. This is long-term work, and this is hard work. And that's why we're working together as a team, because no one person can break this down on their own. No one person.
I think that's the biggest thing that I've realised, that I think we all thought that it would have been the protest, and yes, there would have been after work, but just not as much and not to this scale.
But then you realize after the protest how much of a need there was, not just from people who had been victims of being physically abused, but also people who are affected by the mental issues that racism brings, you know, and that is very, very, very present and very real in our community, you know. And also realizing that, okay, there are racists, but there are people who are anti-racist, who are wanting to support and build up the Black community. So coordinating with them, trying to get support for people who have been through horrible experiences, you know, mapping out the work and realizing that this is a big job. This is not going to happen overnight. It's, you know how big this is. You know, we are doing stuff in the background that, you know, some people don't know about, you know, and in very, very, in the near future, people are going to know and understand just how much of a task this is. Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. Right, perfect. I'm going to quickly cut you off and then put Lizzie on so I can ask her the same questions.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, we'll get back to you in a second.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry, I didn't actually realize that you couldn't do more than one person, so we're doing a flipped.
No, it's totally fine, man. It's all good. It's
a lot of remix we're doing today. So yeah, I'm just gonna ask you the same few questions that I asked Cynthia and get your opinion. So we've covered your heritage and background. So how have you found it being a Black Scottish person growing up, being born and raised here?
That is, you know what, actually, I'll be honest, see, through this current movement, and I don't know about you and how you feel, because we're quite similar in age, just by a few years. And for me, I've noticed with this movement, it's made me realize that I've kind of had a bit of like I feel like I'm never really connected with the fact that I'm Black, because I've been brought up in a very majority white place. So when all of this kicked off, it's, you know, when you're seeing your posts and it's like microaggressions and this and that, I feel like I've almost like made myself like blind to it, you know, and I would just be going about my day. But now with this movement, it's making me realize, like, I'll look back at different memories that I've got and like different things that have happened or altercations that I've had and stuff, and now I'm more like, oh, that was probably because I was Black. You know what I mean? So growing up in Edinburgh has actually been all right for the most part. I've had my I've had people being racist towards me, and I've had people being like discriminating against me and all of that. But I think, you know, I've had it okay. You know what I mean? Like it's not horrific. But I mean, saying that, anyone being racist towards anyone isn't like a good thing. There's no light racism, is there? So
I think because you're so young here, it kind of like made you were too young to internalize it, so you just didn't know what to do or what to say, and it was kind of like because your parents were older, you just thought once I'm an adult, it'll go. And then you realize
Yeah.
once you got to adulthood, it still was there.
Well, that's it. Like, so like my mum wasn't around for like the most of my teens, so it was just me kind of like dancing about Edinburgh, like trying to find my way around life and that. And like to say I love all my friends. All my friends are absolutely glorious, but all my friends are white.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I would have like if I was ever trying to figure things out, like what's the right stuff that I use for my hair? What shampoo
Yeah.
is best for my hair? Like what color tones like for makeup should I wear? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's you're right. Like I look at my mum and I'm like, so like I said earlier on, she came over in the 90s
Mm-hmm.
and it must have been really difficult for her. Like again with this movement, it's making me realize just how
Mm-hmm.
much that our parents had to go through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Cynthia was saying she moved over like what 22 years ago, so that's what 1998. Am I right?
98.
Yeah. So like that also must have been difficult as well, you know, because then it's the whole trying to because in that time it must be like, oh, I have to like assimilate and get used to this and
Mm-hmm.
try and blend in or whatever. But then it's why should that be like that? It
Yeah.
should be, oh, cool, you've moved over from Africa. That's really cool. Like, what's your culture like?
Mm-hmm.
Bring culture here. Share your culture, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could rant about this all day.
I think the hardest part for like our parents' generation or the people that have come like first, like fair enough, we are first generation, well, in my case. But I
Mhm.
think it was hard knowing that my parents left Africa having really good jobs, having graduate degrees and stuff like that, and then had to come here and start again. And it's so common in all of our families that whatever they did before was just completely wiped, and then they kind of come here and they just get put to like cleaners or like really low paid service jobs, and it's
Mhm.
kind of like they have more capacity than that, they have more knowledge than that, and they're just being thrown at the
Mhm.
bottom end.
Totally. How did you find it growing up as being black in Scotland, in Edinburgh?
I think it was weird. So I lived in England before I came to Scotland, and then I moved to Scotland at 7. And I think it was a shock because I think I must have been too young in England to kind of know what racism was. So when I moved to Scotland and I was exposed to it, I generally was like, oh, maybe it's just happening in Scotland. And then the older I got, I kind of got used to the idea that this is widespread and it happens to everyone. But
Mhm.
yeah, I've had ups and downs, and there's been like I think my mum and dad like they kind of shouted us a little bit, and there was a point that I think in my teens that it's that realization of like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm black, and people don't
Mhm.
talk about it. People don't actually like they don't talk about it. You're like family don't talk about it, but you go through life thinking that if I act a certain way or if I act like my white peers, then they won't see me for me, and I'll just
Mhm.
blend in and I'll avoid any type of discrimination. And then it comes to a point where you're like, but I can't do the certain things they do. I can't style my hair a certain type of way. And then you notice that there's physical differences between you and your peers, and you have to go through the whole differences of that. It's a weird experience because it's kind of like as a teenager you're figuring yourself out, but then you have to figure yourself out as a black person in a white world, and
Yeah.
it's how do you manage that? And then also you've got the two cultures of your household and your outside like cultures, and it's
Mhm.
how do you blend everything together?
That's so true because it's doable, but then it's just more difficult when the say your outside culture, so being like in a very white majority place, is maybe unaccepting of your
Mm-hmm.
inside culture. How do you? It's difficult for us because I'm also first generation, like
Mm-hmm.
from my mum and that, so like first generation Scottish in our family, and it's yeah, I think me and my mum clash in at times, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because she is like I say, has lived here since the 90s, but I think she misses Africa a lot. Like she really
Yeah.
misses Kenya. And there'll be times where I'm like, oh my God, this thing's amazing, or like this thing's really cool, or like growing up, I'd be like, oh, I really want this, or I really want that. And she'd just be like, what? What? Like she didn't understand. And I think that was why like because we went through a bit of a rough patch, but like that's why we didn't really connect that well because I was like I want what all my white friends are having, and I want
Yeah.
like nice straight hair, and I want to look like this and like do this and have this, and she didn't have money because she was a doctor back in Kenya, but when she came over here, she ended up I think she worked as like a cafeteria lady for a little bit, and then just got odd jobs here and there and stuff, you know. And now she works in healthcare down in London. So,
And
but
it's a
yeah.
shame because they come to the country like at an older age, and then it's like they shouldn't have to restart their life again. But because they come with kids and they come with families, they are surviving. So they will take any job they can get.
Totally, totally. But then it's like the jobs that they're, like you were saying, the jobs they're qualified for won't accept them,
Hmm.
you know? And that's like that's something that I've been feeling really like raging about. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, how can, especially because like they'll come over and take any jobs that they can get, and probably get thoroughly underpaid, but be hugely qualified, you know? It's like it's wasted talent, you know?
Hmm.
If people are qualified to work in a certain sector, like hypothetically like a doctor, would you not rather just have that talent and that service over being like, oh, I'm sorry, you're black, so we're just going to make it so much more difficult for you, you know? I don't know. I feel like
It's
something,
so hard.
yeah, it is. It really, really is. It is.
How would you sum up briefly being black and Scottish?
Difficult. That's what I'd say. Difficult. Again, it's trying to find confidence in yourself with like being black in Scotland and knowing you're one of few. So having the confidence in your skin color and your hair, as well as, you know, being in a white majority place is difficult, I find personally. I really, really do. Um, but it's a journey that I'm taking at the moment and, you know, getting there. But yeah, I would say in one word, I'd say it's difficult personally.
Yeah,
Well,
it is.
how would you say it, Lee?
A roller coaster. Like it is, it's up and down, and it's just so there's no straight way to do it, and everyone is looping into different holes and different kinds of things and trying to
Mm,
co-manage it, and it's a lot because even when you think you've got it and you think you've figured it out, something
mm-hmm.
happens, and it'll be like a tiny little like. Even if it could be something good, but it could be something that's like a tiny little microaggression. Like the last time I traveled down south, the guy in the airport was like, "Oh, you finally going home?" And I was like, "Just because I'm black doesn't mean I don't live in Scotland." Do you know what I
Oh
mean? Like,
no.
but he just thought like because I was traveling to London, that's just where I lived, and I was like, no, I
Yeah.
live here. Like,
Mm,
and it's that like little things like that will happen and be like, people actually don't think that we're here, and they don't think we
mm,
exist or that we're not doing anything here.
mm. Or like when people are like, oh, you meet someone like at a party or like whatever, or it's a friend or a friend, and they're like, oh, where are you from? And you're like, oh, you know, for me, I'm like, oh, I'm Edinburgh, and they're like, oh, nice, but like, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, just like fuck. That's where I'm from. And they're like, no, 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 no. But like, you know, I'm like, oh, you wanna know why I'm black?
Literally, you want to know where the skin color comes from? That's it.
That's
Like,
it. That is it, man.
it's
But
so
yeah.
crazy. But yeah, thank you. I'm gonna literally cut quickly to Cynthia
Go
and
for
cut
it.
back to her. Go next topic. So I'll see you in a little bit. All right.
All right.
Oh,
Hello.
hi.
How you
That's
doing?
fast.
Sorry, that came quick. Yeah, so a few questions for you, just about what we've been doing since June the 7th it was, wasn't it?
Yes,
7th, yeah.
yes, yes.
So since the protest, what have we actually been up to? What have you been up to?
Okay. Um, since the protest, with you guys,
Mhm.
we've been setting up an organization for the voices of the Black community, the African community, and the Caribbean community. So the organization is going to be called the African Caribbean Society of Scotland. We're still in our early. I know it's very, very, very exciting. What we are wanting to do is to kind of change the mindset, challenge stereotypes, challenge tokenism, be visible as Black people in Scotland, you know, have access ways in which we can contribute to Scottish society, you know, just completely rewrite the script and go against what people believe we are about and turn up, show up as who we really are in all our fullness, with all our potential. You know, we're very intelligent, we're very hardworking, we have so much that we can offer Scotland, you know. So that's what we want to do. We want to increase visibility, and we want to take up more, you know, inject more of our culture into Scottish culture. You know, it's not just about our food. You know, we can't just have our food being loved and then our faces not being accepted. You know, in the whole system. You know, it can't. You can't just pick and choose what part of Black culture you're going to take. We are going to be out as a whole. And you can't, we won't make it easy for people to pick and choose what part of our culture they want. They have to take the whole package.
Yep. No, it's all in, all or nothing.
All or nothing. Yeah. All or nothing.
I like it. And what are the different teams? What are the main areas that we're going to be focusing on?
So firstly, we have the education team. And one of the things we've been doing with the education team is to have a look at the education system as it is right now and challenge it. See why there isn't really any relevant Black history in there. You know, we need more of our history in the curriculum. And when I say Black history, I'm not talking about slavery, because slavery interrupted Black history. We had so much happening before slavery, you know, and that is what we want to be highlighted. We want to challenge whitewashing, you know, go back in history and show what Black people have been doing, even in Scotland, what people have been contributing since time, you know. That is what the education system is about. So how we're going to be doing this is not just in going to schools. We're going to be having workshops. We're going to be doing cultural events. We want to have our own festival for Black people in Scotland. If you think of the Mela, for example, in Edinburgh, we want to have our own event, an annual event where we are celebrating everything that is Black culture. So that's the education team. The next team is the political team, and it's going to be looking at everything that concerns Black equality framework. You know, we know that there have been so many policies that have been talked about, but we want to follow up and see if it was just a promise without fulfilling it with action. We want to follow that up and see what's needed as far as policies for Black people are concerned in Scotland. You know, we are the best people to tell people what we are needing. We can't have needs suggested or dictated to us. We have to say what we are needing as a community. So that is what the team is about. The other team after the political and the education team is the health team. So there are issues with health that affect the community that are not being addressed at the moment. So it's getting us as a community linked up with organizations that already have the infrastructure to deal with this, seeing how they can come into the community, ask us what we are needing, and we can work together, you know, to find solutions that are going to achieve actual results, you know, not just physically, but mentally. We want to have access to mental health support that is for Black people, by Black people, because Black people are not going to therapy because they are not represented in therapy. There are not enough Black therapists in Scotland. Many Black people are not going to trust somebody who does not look like them, who does not sound like them, who does not understand their cultural programming for therapy. So that is one of the needs we have. So dealing with mental health issues, getting Black therapists together, training up people, finding institutions that can train up Black people so that we can sort out issues like Black trauma, removing stigma in our community so that we can move forward and heal. We're not wanting to carry forward the trauma to the next generation. We need to do the work and deal with it now. The other team is the media team. media and events. So they will be working with all the other teams. Events are, for example, our festival. Events will be for people within the group and for our allies as well to join us and to be part of the work that we're doing, because we are going to need this team to communicate what we are doing with our allies to the wider society. So it's not just things like Black History Month that we want to be highlighting. We want to highlight other public holidays that are of importance, of significance to the Black community. We want to build our own way of celebrating Black history. It doesn't need to be limited to a month. You know, a month doesn't do any justice. We don't want to just remember that we are Black when it comes to talking about racism and when it comes to Black History Month. We want to be present. We want to be present every single month. Something must happen that reminds people that we are here, we are contributing, we are not going away, and we are going to challenge racism at every single step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. And that's all the teams, isn't it? Health, politics, education. Oh, economic.
Economic empowerment. Yeah. Now, the reason for this group is really obvious, because a lot of people from the Black community are at an economic disadvantage. So it's about empowering people. It's about educating them as far as financial issues are concerned, getting people trained up in jobs, in getting placements for people, getting people, put where they are qualified to be. You know, we can't have lawyers working as cleaners. We can't have people who are highly trained just folding and working as something you can do without training. We can't have that. We need to empower these people, build them up, build up their confidence, provide resource and support for them to be able to apply for these jobs, and also approach these companies and ask them why they're not employing Black people with the qualifications. Is it an immigration issue, or is it just a race issue? Even the immigration issue, there's a lot we can say about that. But I won't go there today.
So not ready for that one.
Oh, no, it's too soon. Yeah. So that's the thing, get Black people visible. We are here, there's a lot of us here, and people need to know that there are Black people in Scotland. It's not just in London where there are Black people. There are Black people in Scotland, up and down Scotland, up to Aberdeen, where
that's one thing that shocks me, is on the Facebook group is just how many people there are and how far we are, and how all throughout Scotland it's not just like an Edinburgh, Glasgow thing. It is widespread, and it's from the north to the islands up until the borders. Everyone's here, and it's good that we're connecting everybody and we're coming as one.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. I'm just gonna snip back to Lizzie and ask her a few questions, and I'll come back to you, Cynthia. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
She's just coming on. Hello.
Hello.
Good. This seat's so nice because if I go too far forward, it's like a beam of sunlight in my eye. I'm trying. Perfect. So, what have you been up to since the protest?
So a lot, actually. So alongside the African Caribbean Society Scotland,
Back. Did you get that?
I got you. So as well as the ACFS, I've been a part of another organisation. Like a couple of chicks got in contact with me after the protest, and it's an education reform organisation. So it's like so it's grassroots, non-profit. It's called All in One Education, and it's looking to get lesson plans and resources in place for teachers.
Oh, finger connection dipped. Lizzie. Hey, are you there?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not just like slave trade. It's like, black inventors, like black people throughout history that have done good, for Scotland and the UK. And so that kids are learning this early on, like Scottish history, UK history isn't just how we took part in the slave trade. It's also like what we did as a people to to that was positive towards the economy and was positive towards our history. That shouldn't be stuff that no one knows about. In school, I'd learned, f all about it all. So yeah, so it's Black history, Black excellence. It's LBGTQIA. It's differently abled, and there's other topics that we hit up as well. So yeah, we're in the midst of putting that together. So been really busy with that. Been really busy with the ACSS, and also got another wee project sort of in the works at the moment, which you know about, but I'm not going to talk about. And yeah, so keeping busy. I think it's
Nice.
like we're in a time at the moment where people are wanting change, but no one wants to do anything about it. So it's like we just need to do it, get it done. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Gotta get done. Nice.
Yeah.
And how have you been? What team are you in power of? So what team are you running and doing for the ACS?
So for the ACS, I'm the head of the education team, and I've got about 8 people in my team, and everyone's glorious and been sort of bouncing ideas off of each other. So we're doing some good work. It's been really, really, really great actually. I don't mean to sound surprised, but I think it's one of them things where because I didn't really know many people or any people on the community page. So when I took over the role of being the head of the education team, I was kind of I was a little bit apprehensive because I didn't know how people would take to it, but it's going really well. And like weekly to fortnightly meetings, and yeah, like plans are getting put in place, and it's great. It's really, really great.
That's good. Do you think you'll have some form of plans done, like ready for when schools go back or when they start up?
We're hoping to. So, for instance, one of the plans we want to do is kind of do like a form of like Saturday like school. So it's the kids can come together on a Saturday like once a month, and the families can come as well. So it's almost like a community thing as well. But obviously with COVID at the moment, a lot of the places that we've been looking at won't be taking like bookings or reservations or whatnot until after mid-September. So we're gonna have to play it by ear at the moment. So yeah. But what team are you heading up, Anita?
So I am doing health and well-being. So it's a lot. It's actually not,
Yeah.
it's good, but it's one of those things that because there's two sides to it. So there's the health aspect and the health minorities and the health like inequalities that's going on. And then there's the well-being, which is trying to then lift people's spirits and get people like thinking positive and connect the community and stuff like that. So we've got
Mhm.
a mix of things that we can obviously want to raise awareness of and want to address the issues that with other health inequalities. But out with that, we want to do like youth groups, family groups, LGBTQIA groups, like so many on like a wide spectrum. But one of the big things that we did want to like talk, we did want to kind of like help with was mental health and just how it is such a stigma. It still is a stigma in the Black community. So we want to raise awareness of it and make comfortable conversations within Black families and also make more access for Black mental health services because it's one of those things that even in like in Scotland, I have so many friends that have tried to get counselling, and when they then request a Black counsellor, it's kind of like the doctors will look at them mad. And it's like, but why would, what's the need in a black one? And it's like, well, I need to speak to someone that is like me and that has experienced the same things as me and has the same problem. So it's going on to deaf ears. So yeah, just trying to bring all that stuff together. But the team's amazing, and we have so many clever heads, and everyone's kind of come in from different aspects of like health and social care working backgrounds. So it works out pretty well, kind of like assigning the teams that we've got someone that works with like addictions and someone that works with disabled people and things like that. So it's kind of everyone's roles are kind of falling hand in hand, which is good.
Nice. And that's so true. Like I feel like the mental health aspect of it, there's such, and as Cynthia was saying earlier on when you guys were chatting, like there's such a like heavy lack of black therapists in Scotland. Like I see a therapist, but she's white, so there's certain things that I feel like if I speak to her about it, she doesn't quite fully understand. So then I feel like she might not challenge, but like ask the right questions for me to help myself, you know? I'm like so big on like mental health and people going to like therapists and stuff like that. So that's really great that you guys are doing that. Amazing.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things as well is like I want for the kids in school to actually get like more options for like mental health services, because I remember it's a thing that even me myself have like had in school, and I know that my friends and my family members have experienced that if they've needed some kind of like counselling or therapy within the school, they've just been given anger management. And it's kind of like you can't, anger and racism, like the trauma that comes from racist school experiences isn't the same thing. So you can't not give me anger management to cure something that's a mental health issue. So I think that's one of the big things I want for like youth mental health, and trying to like also just help them find their identity and do like identity courses and stuff like that and help them build themselves and be confident.
That would be so great, because I feel like that's not something that like I had growing up, you know, and that would definitely like benefit like young black kids. But as well, that might feel quite isolated, you know, because Scotland is quite isolating, you know. Like I think we're lucky to live in Edinburgh, where I feel like there's a higher percentage of black people, mainly because students come to study here. But yeah, I think it can be quite isolating. So that's definitely something that's needed for sure.
It is. It's extremely isolating. Like my parents, when I started high school, my parents moved out to East Lothian, and they wanted to put me in a school there, and I was like, I don't want to be the only black person. Like fair enough, there was about 3 or 4 of us in my school, but there was more. And it was just the fact of, even when I was in the area, like I'm like at the home, like at the weekend and stuff, I was like, I've not seen any black kids playing about the park. I've not seen whatever. So I don't want to go to a school where it's just me. And the racism I've experienced from being in the park, if that's in a school building, that's double. Like I'm not doing it. So me and my sisters were very persistent, and we stayed in Edinburgh schools because we were like, it's more common faces that we'll see.
Yeah. The school that I went to, so the high school anyway, because my sister's 5 years older than me. So I think when I was in like first or second year, she was then just leaving. So like her friends left. And then for about a year, I was the only black kid there, I believe. I might get on this, but I believe I was the only black kid there for about a year. And then another couple of kids moved in. There was like people of color, but for specifically black, I was the only kid there for about a year, and it was difficult. Like you get treated differently by the teachers, and you can see that. Well, at that time anyway, which was about 10 years ago, because I left school early. There needs to be change for the kids now, for sure, because that's another thing. Like I feel like kids in around about when I was 16, 17 were leaving early, black kids and people of color and kids of color, because they didn't feel like they were getting enough support, you know. Was how can like white teachers, because like in my school, for instance, there was only white teachers. Again, I could get corrected on this, but from what I remember, you know, and yeah, there was times where I was having like a difficult time or whatever, and I feel like I didn't really get the correct support. Like they didn't really know how to support me properly, you know, for the issues that I was going through. So yeah, it's definitely something that needs to get sorted and fixed.
Yeah. And just also the ending of assemblies, to cover the whole topic. Like I am sick and tired of hearing about schools, and even when I talk to my cousins and stuff, they always tell me, so what happens in school when racism happens and stuff? And they're like, well, you have an assembly. And I'm like,
Mm,
I'm tired of hearing the assembly, like, because it's like, one, I remember being in assemblies and not listening. You were either on your phone, you were talking to people beside you, or there was something like there was always some jokes going on in the assembly. Like, you were never ever paying attention fully. So for them to have an
yeah,
assembly for all pupils, 10% is going to take that in, and the 10% is the kids of color. So
yeah,
it's not, who is that actually? Like, it's not educating anyone. It's not doing any benefit. Like, I want it to be a case that if, say it was my child, for instance, if he came to me and said, "Mum, this happened," if I went to a teacher and the teacher actually does something and
hmm,
does correct conversations, because I'm so protective as a mother that I'd rather
yeah.
the school does it correctly that I have to then go and tell the school, be like, I can't move from schools every time something happens.
Exactly. And that's another thing, like within the education team that we're kind of wanting to like tackle is like how like the level of racism within schools, you know? So like for me, I don't have kids at the moment, but that's something I always worry about. Like my partner is white, so I know that I'll have mixed race kids. And that's a whole I can imagine that's a whole other journey, you know, like we can't fully relate because you know, everything. Anyway, so that's another thing that yeah we're wanting to tackle is just how teachers handle uh, kids receiving racism within schools and how it's dealt with because I feel like personally and it's something that we've actually been talking about in the group is like it's not it shouldn't just be like a blanket response like each individual experience is different so
Yeah,
you need to be able to adapt and speak to the kids and actually really I mean, if it's a white teacher, they're not going to be able to relate, but they should be uh, able to deal with that situation. And
mm-hmm.
then the kids are being racist, that needs to get dealt with, you know. So that's something that
Yeah.
we're hopefully going to try and find ways to make better and work on.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, that sounds really well. I'm gonna cut back to Cynthia really quickly, and I'll come
Thanks.
back to you. Thank you.
Perfect.
So just waiting for Cynthia to join. Hi,
Hi,
we're
hi,
back again.
hi.
Um, yes, we'll cut right into it. So, as we've said, the new name is going to be the African Caribbean Society for Scotland, or ACSS for short. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it's going to be that. So, explain to the viewers where did this come from, and how did we get to the point of the name change from what we are to what we're going to be?
Well, the name is because we do not want to get lost under that term, BAME. I
Mm.
personally hate that term. I do not like that term. I wanted something specifically addressing Black issues. And
Mm.
that is why we have this. So it's for people who are of African heritage and Caribbean heritage. And the focus is to work on everything concerning Black issues,
Mm.
not other issues that are under BAME, specifically Black. Our struggle is different, our needs are different, and for so long we have just always been sidestepped, you know, when it comes
Mm.
to uh, providing solutions for our problems. Yeah.
Good. That's good. I think the biggest thing that annoys me on the BAME is the fact that the government and everyone else uses it to hide Black issues under Asian issues.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the biggest struggle that like the health team we had when we were doing our research and whatever was that when we were trying to find out like health inequalities and things that are going on, the biggest thing we found would be like, so BAME people suffer from this. 99% of Asians, or it would have percentage as statistics for Asians, and then that would kind of cover all of us. And it's like what an Asian goes through and a Black person goes through is two different things.
Two different things, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to separate the two. We need to separate
Yeah.
the two, and we really need to focus. We need more focus, attention drawn on Black issues. That's how we're going to find solutions to some of the things that we are dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can't just piggyback right off somebody else's struggle. We'll own our struggle, and we'll own this fight. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and at least we will choose our own name, right?
Yeah.
Not just have a blanket name thrown for us to just sit under. That's not how it's going to be.
And the thing is, it's mad that BAME, before it became BAME, was BME. So then they then added the A to it. So it's like instead of grouping it, could they not have just made AME, BME, whatever else they needed to do?
I
Do you
know,
know what I
but
mean?
again, that is the minimizing of Black
Mm.
lives, the minimizing of Black issues, Black Black needs. Everything that is Black is always really watered down and minimized and made less important than anything else that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's bad.
we can't have that anymore.
So we're gonna change the system up. And
We'll say what we're about and what we're needing. We're not gonna wait for people who've not walked in our shoes to tell us what we need to be like or what we're needing. We've got voices, we will use them.
We don't need the diversity of thought because we are the thought. That's the one to learn for today. Tell that to Matt Hancock when you see him next.
Exactly. I mean, some of it really, when you read it in black and white, it absolutely sounds like a joke. You know,
it's horrendous. It's actually like it just makes me want to laugh.
Yeah. So the nonsense just needs to stop, and let's just get this work done without these distractions, the foolishness, and all of this. It's like entertainment, really. Tokenism needs to stop.
Sure. How are we gonna get affiliation with the Black Lives Matter cause or not? And if so, why not?
The Black Lives Matter cause at the moment are the Scotland chapter are working on what their aims and objectives are going to be, because the American group is almost like a militant group, right? And they put that together for the needs that they have in America, and we are trying to define our struggle and make clear what our aims and objectives are. And the protest happened and BLM happened after we had set up this African page. So when they set themselves up, we will be working with them. Though it's separate to this organization, we will have areas where we will need to link up and overlap and work together, because no one organization is going to address all Black issues on its own. We're going to need to work together,
And it just takes the pressure off, because I feel like with it being such a big name, everyone expects greatness and expects so much to be done, but doing it little mini stages kind of allows people to take on more of one thing and other groups, and gives more focus to it.
We want more accountability. When people decide what they're working on, run with it and be accountable. Give feedback, rather than people just setting up organizations and having titles and promising to represent Black people and not achieving anything. So if they're going to set up their chapter and they decide what they want to do, they can run with that. We have our own work here, and we are wanting to run with that too. And the job is it's a big job. And part of what ACSS is going to be doing is that cultural representation, working with allies, working with organizations in Scotland, getting Black people fully represented. And that may sound like a threat to people who are used to privilege, but it's equality, equity, equality we're needing. It's not displacing anybody. It's not threatening to take over anything. We just want a seat at the table like everybody else.
And the thing is, it's the fact of we've spent how many decades asking and going to our councillors, going to the governors, going to these people, and we've been asking it and trying to get it, and they've not given it to us. So it's at a point now where we're going to make it known that we need to take it and we need to gain.
Yeah, they wonder why Black people are not responsive to some of these questionnaires they put. If you're going to want my time to answer some questions about the Black community, the questions have to be relevant to the community. The questions have to be useful. There can't be questions that I cannot relate to. There can't be questions that are of absolutely no importance. They have to prioritize the group that they are targeted at. So if the government is wanting to work with Black people on Black issues, we are here to do that. We are here. We are the Black people in Scotland, up and down Scotland, professional people, experienced people, many voices saying one thing. And we are willing to work with anybody who is really genuinely wanting diversity, not just to tick a box for their workplace or their business. People who really want change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is a difference between the, well, not so much brand, but the organization and the hashtag? So, like, is there a difference in the hashtag and the movement?
The hashtag.
Yeah. So, in a sense of like Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. The hashtag remains true, whatever the organization is about. Whether people like the organization or not, however people scrutinize the organization, whatever conclusions they come up with, the hashtag remains true. Black Lives Matter. They do matter. And people are kind of sidestepping the issue, wanting to bring on whatever they have read about an organization, or what they believe is what the organization is about, to sidestep the issue. And the issue is that Black Lives Matter. You know, this is another way of having an all lives matter argument, you know, by trying to hide. And this is a racist way of thinking, rather than focus on the aim of the group. The focus is Black Lives Mattering. There's always an excuse to find fault, to belittle, you know, to dehumanize, to criminalize people's voices when they're speaking. This is what we're working with. This is what racism is, especially in the UK. It's not guns on the street. It's racism. It's structural racism. It's people who hold positions of power, abusing their power, and silencing victims, silencing Black people. That is the misuse of power. That is racism. That is structural racism. And that's what we're up against here. You know, it's not guns. It's not violence, you know, on the streets. That is what we are up against in Scotland. So it calls for us to get together, use our minds, map out how we are going to fight our struggle. We cannot be quoting Martin Luther King. That was a different struggle for a different time. This is 2020. The struggle is different. We shouldn't have to go through the struggles our parents went through when they came to Scotland. We need to own it. We need to map out how this work is going to be done, and to be very clear on what we are wanting to achieve. By people always talking about America and how this happens in America, makes people believe that there is no racism in this country. And that is a lie. Racism is very present in Scotland.
That's so true.
Me and my sister. I speak about these things. Did you see my eyebrows? I get so angry. I get so angry that I have to explain basic things like this to intelligent people. You know.
You can see the passion. It's there. The passion is there in the field. Me and my sister were actually saying this the other day, and it was weird. Like, we were talking about Scotland and like just the experience of being in Scotland. And my sister said something. She was like, the one thing that Scottish, like, I don't think Scottish people understand that the racism is so covert that it then just becomes really overt, and it's very, very obvious, and it's very, very like blatant. Oh, I know she left. Hold on, I'm gonna add her back. It's probably no one's in here. It's probably a phone call. Probably right. Okay, we've got a minute left on this one. So what I'm gonna do is, because I still need to speak to the ladies, so I'm gonna end this one, save it, and make a new one because we're running out of time. So I'll do that really quickly, guys. But thanks for tuning in, and thank you for your time.